Let's talk about something that made headlines globally, but also needs to be showing up in your information security thinking, and more importantly, your ISMS documentation. On April 2nd, 2025, President Donald Trump announced a sweeping set of import tariffs, calling it the Liberation Day. These aren't symbolic. They apply a 10% base tariff to all imports into the United States, with rates jumping as high as 54% for some specific countries like China, India, and Vietnam. Now, if you're working in information security in Australia, you might think that this doesn't affect you. But you're wrong. We live in a globally connected environment, especially within IT. Whether you're sourcing physical infrastructure like firewalls or switches, using offshore cloud services, or working with vendors who themselves depend on these countries, these tariffs will have a potential direct impact on your organisation's ability to manage your information security. And this is exactly what ISO 27001 Clause 4.1 is referring to when it tells you to consider external issues that could affect the ability of the ISMS to achieve its intended outcomes. So what do you do about it? Let's break it down into some practical steps. First, review the context of your organisation. Clause 4.1 requires that you understand external issues relevant to your purpose and the effect on your ability to protect information assets. Trade policy changes, such as these new tariffs, are external issues. You should be asking, do we source IT equipment or services from affected regions? Are our suppliers or partners affected in ways that could create delays, reduce service quality, or increase costs? Is the economic impact likely to flow onto us via budget cuts, project delays, or reduced security capability? If these risks are real to your organisation, you need to update your context of the organisation document to reflect that. This isn't about listing news articles, it's about clearly stating that shifts in international trade policy represent a risk factor for IT sourcing and service continuity. Step 2. Reassess your risk register. If your risk register hasn't been updated to include potential knock-on effects of global trade instability, now's the time. You may need to create a brand new risk, but you should consider updating existing supply chain or vendor relationship risks with new likelihood and impact scores based on current events. Create scenario-based entries for things like delays in critical infrastructure delivery, cost-driven vendor changes, or service degradation due to geopolitical instability. When doing this, link these risks to impact controls. For example, Control 5.23, Information Security for the use of cloud services, or Control 5.19, Information security in supplier relationships. Also consider adding mitigation steps such as increasing local stock of key equipment or diversifying vendor dependencies where feasible. Step 3. Engage your key suppliers. Have a proactive conversation with them. People like your MSP, your cloud provider, hardware resellers, SaaS vendors. Ask questions like, are these tariffs impacting their operations? Are they expecting delays or cost increases? Have they changed their supply routes, shipping partners, or security posture as a result? You're not gathering info for the sake of it. It forms part of your supplier assurance activities under ISO 27001. Make a record of these discussions. Even email threads or meeting notes can demonstrate due diligence during an audit. Step 4. Monitor for emerging cyber threats. History tells that major geopolitical events can lead to retaliatory cyber activity, whether through espionage, disruption, or financially motivated attacks. Even if you're not the direct target, you may become collateral damage if a vendor or cloud provider gets caught up. Review your threat intelligence sources. Are you subscribed to the ACSC updates? Do you receive briefings from your managed SOC or threat intel provider? Are you reviewing logs and alerts for signs of unusual behaviour tied to geopolitical patterns? Update your threat modelling documentation if necessary, and if you haven't done one, now's the great time to start. Step 5. Communicate internally. Context isn't just for auditors, it's for your leadership team. Brief your senior management team or board on how global changes may affect your risk position, what changes you're making to the ISMS, whether additional funding or resources are required to manage the risk. Clause 5.1 and 5.3 of ISO 27001 requires leadership's involvement. This is your opportunity to demonstrate the ISMS is a living system, not just a set of static documents. ISO 27001 isn't just about firewalls and passwords. It's a business framework for managing information risks in the real world. Clause 4.1 exists to keep your ISMS grounded in current external reality. When the world changes, your risk position changes, and your ISMS needs to respond. This tariff announcement is just one example, but it's a timely reminder. The things happening outside your organisation can absolutely affect the way that you protect what's on the inside. If your ISMS hasn't been updated to reflect what's happening, now's the time to do it.